Dr. Joel Fuhrman is a board-certified physician whose groundbreaking work has been acclaimed as a medical breakthrough for weight loss, disease reversal, and prevention.
The American diet today has 62% of calories from processed foods. How many of you would like a promise that you don't have to have a heart attack when you get older?
He's a New York Times best-selling author and a widely published nutritional researcher.
And I see people putting this into practice every day, transforming their lives. Never forget that your health is your greatest wealth.
Join Dr. Joel Fuhrman now and learn the 3 steps to incredible health.
I'm Dr. Fuhrman. Welcome to The Skinny on Fats. And I'm here today to talk to you about why we become overweight and how fat can be good or bad, and how to think about this in the way that makes fat an important part of your optimal health program. So think about this for a minute. We become overweight because we eat too many calories, right? But also because we don't get enough micronutrients in the calories we eat. Because when we eat micronutrients in a micronutrient-rich diet, it lessens our appetite. It takes away our toxic hunger or craving for food. Now, the stomach holds about 1 liter of food. The stomach holds that, and when you stretch it a little bit, when you put a lot of food into it, and the stomach can feel that it's filled up, it'll give you a signal to stop eating. But when we fill it up with things like oil and sugar, it doesn't take any volume. And we get a lot of signals to keep eating food because there's no stretching of the stomach. So when we eat foods like vegetables and berries and things like that have fiber and volume in them, it prevents us from overeating. Now, don't forget, green vegetables are very low in calories, like 100 calories a pound or less. That's a whole pound's only 100 calories. You couldn't fit that much into your stomach. You would become full after you ate a pound of vegetables. The stomach only holds the 1 liter. So the bottom line is that we eat a lot of vegetables and berries and seeds and greens and tomatoes and, and whole grain products. You can't put that much calories in at one time. It's very hard. But when we consume sugar and corn syrup and sweeteners and oil and white flour and cheese and butter and margarine and meats, we can put 3,000 calories into the stomach, no problem, 4,000 calories in. You can fit any amount of calories into the stomach. It's almost impossible to fit that many calories in if you're eating natural foods. And I'm telling you this because you don't forget how fattening oil is. We're talking here about all types of oil: olive oil, canola oil, corn oil, all oil, even flax oil, because all oil is 120 calories a tablespoon, every oil. So when you put a couple of tablespoons of oil on your salad, you're putting 240 calories on that. When you put 3 or 4 tablespoons of dressing on your salad, 3 or 4 times 120, that's almost 500 calories of low nutrient food, right? And olive oil may not be as bad as butter, but it's still very fattening, and it still promotes cancer and heart disease, and to the extent that it puts fat on your body. Within 3 minutes of eating an oil, because it doesn't have to be broken down, it doesn't have to be changed biochemically, it could be absorbed right into the bloodstream almost instantaneously and stored away as fat. Within 3 minutes of eating that oil, it's stored as fat on your body. Goes from your lips to your hips, right away. Now, when you eat nuts and seeds as a source of fat, nuts and seeds have only 30 calories a tablespoon, not 120 calories a tablespoon like oil does. But when you eat nuts and seeds, all those fat calories won't come into the body very quickly. They'll come into the body very slowly because the fat is bound to fibrous material like sterols and stanols, and it comes into your bloodstream more slowly. And it's been shown that people who eat nuts and seeds on a regular basis lose weight as opposed to gain weight. They're actually a weight loss food. So some high-fat foods are beneficial to weight loss, and other high-fat foods like oil is sabotaging your weight loss goals because most Americans are consuming over 400 calories a day just from oil. Add up those 400 calories a day over the week, right? Over the year. That's 50 pounds a year of extra calories you didn't need. So ask yourself, when you're looking at what you're going to eat, ask yourself, is this food natural? Does it grow on a tree? Or has it been processed? Is it an avocado? Because avocado oil doesn't grow on a tree, and avocado does. Is it a walnut? A walnut grows on a tree, not walnut oil. So that's a processed food, not a natural food. Is this food high in micronutrients? Is it high in fiber, right? Is it high in antioxidants? Does it have in it all the things that nature put in there when the food was formed? Does it still contain those undiscovered nutrients that have not even, and have those undiscovered nutrients not been lost in processing? Or has it been processed to the point where most of the nutrients are gone, right? Is this food high in salt, right? Has been salt added to it? Salt increases cancer rates. It doesn't just increase blood pressure and heart attack death. Is it high in acrylamides and AGEs? Those are things that are formed when foods are cooked at high temperature, when things are darkened or browned. So things like cornflakes and pretzels, high in acrylamides. But the foods highest in acrylamides are things that are overly cooked, that animal products like cheeses, like processed cheeses and processed meats and barbecued meats. Those are very high in these dangerous cancer-causing compounds. Does this food contain substances that may undermine your health, right? I call it dietary lipo-augmentation because Americans are eating all these dangerous fats. The dangerous fats are, easy to remember, animal fats, trans fats, which are man-made fat, and refined oils, because refined oils are not a natural fat. That means anything in a bottle is refined. As opposed to that, I'm recommending people get most of their fats from eating whole food. Now here's the thing. The studies on olive oil show that it's not cardioprotective. It actually is 14% saturated fat, and it actually increases heart disease risk in proportion that people eat it in higher amounts. The problem is that people are now saying that saturated fat isn't so bad because the studies show when they switch saturated fat to fats like safflower oil and sunflower oil, they also showed that heart disease rates and diabetes rates did not go down. So people are using that information to think saturated fats are not bad. It's like comparing a car to a junkyard wreck and saying it's not bad. But the point is, we're comparing one bad fat to another bad fat in America, trying to see which fat is worse. They're all bad. All fats are atherogenic, which means they promote atherosclerosis. And all fats are diabetogenic because they promote diabetes, because all these fats promote being overweight and obese. They're not whole foods. So what's wrong with olive oil is that, obviously, it's not as bad as maybe eating butter, but it's fattening. And the Mediterranean diet has benefits because of the vegetables eaten and the seeds they're eating and the garlic they're eating, the tomatoes they're eating. But it's not because we think that the Mediterranean diet is good because all the white flour pasta and all the olive oil they're eating. So we translate it into our American interpretation of it, and we think we can pour olive oil over everything and that's going to make us healthy, you know? And it's not the case. We got to look at all these diets from around the world, from the Hunzins and from the Orientals and from all the parts of the world in the Himalayan mountains. We got to look at where people live the longest around the world. And we pick the best parts of all these diets and put it together. And it's never that oil promoted longevity. It's always that the people and the populations that eat the most vegetables live the longest. And we can judge the relative disease protective property of any diet and the health properties of any diet by looking at how much unrefined plant food, how much vegetables are being consumed. Like the Okinawans, look at how much vegetables they're consuming, not how much oil they're consuming. Now, you don't want to forget here that nuts and seeds show dramatic protection against heart attacks and strokes. And nuts and seeds in all these studies, the Iowa Health Study, the Physicians' Health Study, the Nurses' Health Study, the CARE Study, all show the same thing. None of these studies were funded by the nut manufacturers. They're impartial studies. They're profound, they're effective, and they're well-done studies. And they show that people who eat nuts and seeds on a regular basis have dramatic reduction in all-cause mortality. That means lower rates of cancer and lower rates of heart disease, and especially lower rates of sudden cardiac death. So I'm saying here that nuts and seeds lower LDL cholesterol, they raise HDL, the good cholesterol. They reduce C-reactive protein and plaque adhesion molecules. In other words, those inflammatory markers that increase risk of heart disease drop from the consumption of nuts and seeds. They restore vascular elasticity. They're healthy for the blood vessels, right? In the Physicians' Health Study, over 20,000 male physicians were studied for more than 17 years. And the most dramatic relation between food and any kind of survival statistics was the association between nuts and no nuts. Because nuts and seeds had an anti-seizure effect, an anti-arrhythmic effect, and they prolonged lifespan. So we're saying here that eating a diet that's very low in fat, like let's say you adopt a vegetarian or vegan diet, and you think that the benefit of a vegan diet is because it's going to be so low in fat, it's going to get me healthier. So you eat no nuts and seeds and no oil, and you just have rice and potato and bread, and you have everything low fat, low fat, low fat. You're not going to be in optimal health. You can actually be increasing the risk of some significant diseases by your diet being low in fat, because you're omitting the natural nuts and seeds which give you those healthy fats that humans need, that we require. And nuts and seeds facilitate the absorption of nutrients that are from other foods eaten with them, because the fat with the meal facilitates the absorption of a lot of these fat-soluble and fat and phytochemicals that are absorbed when there is fat eaten in the same meal. All right? So a very low-fat diet may actually also compromise immune function. Your immune system, protection against viruses and cancers, may be compromised by a diet too low in fat. So because a very low-fat diet has been shown to lower these they actually lower the cytokines and the white blood cell counts that fight off cancer and viruses. In other words, a diet too low in fat has been shown to inhibit endurance in athletes, inhibit immune function, and affect white blood cells, so you're not getting optimal immune function. If nuts and seeds are so good, we want to eat some of them. That means if we're eating oil and nuts and seeds, you'll be getting too many calories and too much fat. You can't pour oil all over your food and then also have a handful of nuts and seeds. We have to use the nuts and seeds instead of the oil. That's the secret here, right? It's pretty simple. We want to make a salad dressing with sunflower seeds, with sesame seeds in the salad, with some cashews or almonds or avocado. We want to use a whole food. Like we want to make a delicious dressing with garlic and avocado, or with cashews and sesame seeds. One of my favorite dressings is to take an orange and whip it up with some cashews, lightly toasted sesame seeds, a little splash of vinegar, like I use blood orange vinegar, is fantastically delicious in it, and I use a little squeeze of lemon, make an incredibly delicious lemon-orange dressing with nuts and seeds in it. I could have made a delicious balsamic dressing with, instead of using olive oil, I'm going to use little almonds, because the almond goes good with the darker vinegar, like a fig vinegar or balsamic vinegar, and with tomatoes, like your tomatoes and tomato paste and sun-dried tomatoes. That delicious garlicky tomato flavor goes good with the almond and the dark vinegar. Like the tomato goes good with the balsamic or fig vinegar, but the orange and the fruity goes good with the lighter vinegar, like the wine vinegar or the pear vinegar or the blood orange vinegar is very good with the lighter color nut, like a cashew or a macadamia nut. We make all these gourmet dressings. But you see, the fat comes from the whole food, and you put that over your salad. Take a little of those toasted sesame seeds on top, sprinkle some kiwis in a salad, sometimes put pomegranate seeds and tomatoes in a salad, make a delicious salad. And pomegranates and pomegranate seeds are a superfood shown to protect against heart disease and protect against cancer. I'm saying here that we want to have the right type of fats. We want to have healthy fats, not no fat, not low fat, but the right kind of fats, right? Because fat deficiency could cause, fatigue and muscle cramps and lower absorption of the fat-soluble nutrients. Also, I take care of a lot of people that are very overweight, and they want to lose weight, and they lose weight to a point, and I've seen lots of people where they lose weight and their weight loss plateaus. They don't keep losing if their diet is too low in fat. I add back the nuts and seeds and they keep losing, because we're putting in nuts and seeds and extracting some other calories out, and they're getting actually more fat calories and less carbohydrate calories, and it encourages their weight loss. So actually there are studies that compared a low-fat vegetarian or vegan diet compared to one that used some more fat in it, and it found that the study that added a little bit of fat to it, that was not too low in fat, had lower levels of CRP, the inflammatory, that's a blood test, C-reactive protein that shows inflammation in the blood, and it showed that less markers of atherosclerosis. In other words, the extra fat was helpful, not hurtful. So let me review this one more time. Let me just go over this one more time. The benefits of eating nuts and seeds. They're full of fiber. They bind cholesterol in the gut. The sterols and stanols in the digestive tract that are in the digestive tract when you eat nuts and seeds, the special fibers in nuts and seeds, have been shown to lower the risk of breast cancer and lower the rate of prostate cancer in men. They lower your blood sugar. When you substitute nut calories for some carbohydrate calorie, when you have the same calories in your diet, more from nuts, less from carbohydrates, blood sugars are lower because of the lower glycemic effect. They lower triglycerides. They encourage a better LDL-HDL ratio. They help diabetics lower their sugar. They prevent cardiac arrhythmias or irregular heartbeat. They increase protection against cancer, and they maintain better muscle mass as you get older. They increase the protein in your diet, but you increase the protein from nuts and seeds from a vegetable protein, not an animal protein. And the vegetable protein has beneficial effects. When you get more of your protein from plant foods and less from animal products, you get lower levels of IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which can be a cancer promoter, and you get more of these anti-inflammatory substances. Nuts and seeds are a secret to good health, and don't neglect that seeds are also high in flavonoids and anti-cancer minerals, phytosterols. In other words, we're talking here about flax seeds. Sunflower seeds are rich in selenium and zinc and vitamin E, and flax seeds are rich in lignans, which have anti-cancer effects. They're rich in the omega-3 fatty acids, which are so beneficial, right? The pumpkin seeds are high in calcium and zinc. Chia seeds and hemp seeds are also high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are a nutrient powerhouse. Don't neglect the fact that eating seeds in salads, in pies and dishes, we make the crust of a pie by putting in chia seeds and hemp seeds with little almonds or oats. We bake some apples or peaches with raisins and cinnamons. We sprinkle some flax seeds, and then we'll make a great apple pie or a great fruit pie. There's all different ways you can use these foods in your cooking and you're making delicious gourmet food. So we're saying here that there's an inverse association, an opposite association between eating nuts and weight. You eat nuts on a regular basis, you have a tendency to have a lower weight. Of course, I'm recommending people not snack on them. You're supposed to be eating when you're hungry, and you're supposed to be eating them at mealtime. If you're really hungry and can't get to a mealtime, have an apple or have some carrot sticks or tomato, but don't have nuts and seeds. Hold off the nuts and seeds to your meal, because you want to eat the nuts and seeds with the meals that have all the green vegetables with them, and the berries and the onions and the mushrooms, because the nuts and seeds help you absorb those anti-cancer compounds better, right? And when you do that, you lower your rate of it also lowers the rate of gallstone formation in people who are losing weight. So it's important that dieters or people who are overweight, they adopt this healthy diet that I'm recommending, that they eat some nuts and seeds to prevent the formation of gallstones that could be caused by a diet too excessively low in fat. And of course, they prevent overeating. So here's an analysis of two diets, one without nuts and seeds and one right next to it with nuts and seeds. So the one without nuts and seeds has, oatmeal and orange juice and blueberries. It's a pretty healthy diet, right? The lunch is a salad with a baked potato and a piece of bread, and the dinner is some raw veggies with a low-fat ranch dressing, chili, brown rice, with about 2,000 calories a day in it. But the one with nuts and seeds, let's look at the difference. Because the breakfast is pretty similar, oatmeal with orange juice and blueberries maybe, but the salad, we put an almond fig dressing on the salad, which has some almonds in it. And the broccoli with the red lentil sauce, the same. And the dinner, the orange sesame dip I just talked about, that orange sesame dressing or dip on the raw vegetables. And so we added a little bit more of the nuts and seeds in the diet, and we came out to the same amount of calories, and we analyzed the nutrients in these two diets, compare the two. Well, the diet with the nuts and seeds, talking about the same amount of calories here, right, was higher in zinc, higher in magnesium, higher in phosphorus, higher in calcium, higher in vitamin E, higher in arginine, which relaxes blood vessels, right? Higher in protein, lower in carbohydrate, and the fat content went from 9% to 28%. So here we're talking about a diet with between 20 and 30% of calories from fat that's higher in all those minerals that I'm claiming will be more weight loss favorable than that diet and more health favorable than that diet that was less than 10% of calories from fat. So there's no data and no science to suggest that a diet that's low in fat is better in any way, any advantages, than a diet higher in fat for heart disease, for cancer, for the reversal of any disease, as long as the fat is coming from whole natural foods like nuts and seeds. All right? Doesn't mean a person can't overeat on them. You can overeat on lots of food. And you can get overweight eating too many nuts and seeds. They're 175 calories an ounce. We're not saying people should eat 10 ounces a day, but how many ounces you should eat. If you're overweight, probably 1 ounce a day is a good amount. If you're not overweight, 2 to 3 or 4. You might need more if you're a world-class athlete or if you're doing heavy exercise and you're slim, right? Some people are professional athletes. They're exercising 3 to 4 hours a day. They need more calories, so they might be having drinks and shakes, and they might be eating more nuts and seeds than you might be right for you. The amount of how much food you eat varies tremendously from person to person. Some people could need 4,000 calories a day, and another person might need only 1,000 calories a day if they're not very active. The point is understanding these principles of how to design an ideal diet and modify and adjust it for your particular needs. We're saying here again that saturated fat is the form of fat mostly in animal products. And those fats promote cancer and promote heart disease. I want to counter the evidence or the message from the media or the newspapers and magazines that says, or the internet that says saturated fat is now declared safe. Because they did a study showing that people who had more saturated fat reduced their fat intake from saturated fat and instead ate more carbohydrates from pasta and bread and sugars. And they found that people who reduced their saturated fat intake and more carbohydrate did not have better health, did not have better cholesterol levels, did not have better diabetic control, did not lose weight. Because you see, they're taking people off a bad fat and they're putting them on a bad carbohydrate. Sure, I want people to eat less fat, but I want the fat they eat to be healthy fat, to be high nutrient fat, to be nutrient-containing fat, to be a whole food. I want people to eat less carbohydrate too, but I want the carbohydrate that they do eat to be high nutrient, wholesome, healthy carbohydrate. And I want people to eat less protein too, but I want the protein they eat to be high nutrient, whole food, healthier proteins. And the more you get protein from sunflower seeds, and the more you get protein from something like a Mediterranean pine nut, or green vegetables which are high in protein, right? Or beans have lots of protein. Even whole wheat bread is pretty high in protein. The more you eat protein from plant substances and the more you get protein from whole plants, like green vegetables, the more you're getting your protein packaged with all these phytochemical protective substances that protect you in an infinite number of ways that we're merely beginning to understand in the history of nutritional science. Now, in our country, we're talking here the consumption of refined carbohydrates is dangerous, and refined oils are dangerous. But when we mix together refined oils with carbohydrate, and especially with animal foods that are high in saturated fat, now we've got a formula for obesity. It's like we put all the right ingredients in the witch's cauldron of causes. We have the sugar in there, we have the white flour in there, we have a little oil in there to promote fat, and we have, we throw in all the oils in there. But you see, when you mix together oil and sugar, it encourages fat to just go on your body at such a rapid rate. It's impossible to control it. And the sugars and the oils are addictive. You can't stop wanting to eat them. I'm saying this again because I don't want you to miss this, that mixing together oil and fat and sugar in your diet promotes obesity. It makes for cravings, it promotes insulin, it promotes fat storage, and it makes people blow up. But claiming that this is all from fat is a gross oversimplification. It's a complicated issue. It's from refined fats called oils, especially when you mix them with sugar. Now, there are two types of essential fats. The word essential means the body needs it for its health, for its normalcy, right? The two basic types of essential fats are omega-3 fats and omega-6 fats. The other fat the body needs, it can make from those two basic fats. If the body can make it, they're not called essential. Now, omega-3 fatty acids include something called EPA and DHA, which are commonly known as fish oil, right? Fish oil is not an essential fat. It's not an essential fat because the body can make it from the basic fat, right? The alpha-linolenic acid, the ALA, that comes from green vegetables and walnuts and sesame seeds and flax seeds and chia seeds and hemp seeds. All those seeds and greens are already high in those basic fats, the basic alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. Then the body could make the fats, it could make the DHA and the EPA it needs. But what happens is some people don't have an effective function of that enzyme. The enzyme that makes the long-chain fats, the omega-3 fats like that we get from fish, some people do need to supplement because some individuals don't make enough. Particularly, the people that don't make enough are particularly men more than women, and particularly elderly men. Finding, with my experience in practice and checking the omega-3 fatty acid levels on blood tests, are that men, as they get older, have lower rates of conversion of the short-chain omega-3 fat, alpha-linolenic acid, into the longer-chain EPA and DHA, and it's beneficial for them to add a supplement of even a low dose of these beneficial fats, like a DHA supplement. When we're looking at the conversion here of the flaxseed or the walnuts or the soybeans or the tofu or the green vegetables to make the DHA, the conversion is a small amount of those fat get converted over. So if you eat a diet with a good amount of, when you're knowing to eat soybeans and green vegetables and walnuts and flax seeds, you're going to probably make enough. But if you're not eating those foods, you might not make enough, and then it would be wise to supplement with DHA. And they make vegan or vegetarian EPA, and they make vegan or vegetarian DHA. So you don't have to get the EPA and DHA from fish. We don't have to be, ravaging the natural environment and getting the pollution from fish. We now can make the EPA and DHA from algae and from plant foods, and we can get it in a vegetarian source for people who want to supplement. And you don't need a lot to supplement, even if you have depression, because supplementing with EPA and DHA has been shown to help depression. You don't need huge amounts of this, just a small amount. The amount of DHA needed to maximize the fatty acid membrane balance, as shown in scientific studies, is about 100 milligrams a day, or about 700 a week. One piece of salmon a week gives you about that much, right? If you're eating, 12 walnut halves, that converts into about 60 to 80 milligrams of DHA a day. If you have green vegetables, a couple of, 3 or 4 cups of greens with the walnuts, then you've made enough. So it's not that hard to meet the essential fatty acid needs when you're eating whole natural foods. We're trying as much as possible for people to realize we want them to get more of the nutrients from whole foods, not from supplements. Because when you get your nutrients from supplements, you're always missing things that were present in the natural foods that come along for the ride. So we're saying here that fish is a two-edged sword, because there's some studies that show that too much fish oil can cause a bleeding tendency in the blood, increasing the risk of hemorrhagic stroke. There's some studies that show that too much fish can increase the risk of diabetes. We think it has to do with all the extra protein. And because fish is now grown in farms where they have chemicals in the water and fish farms, that a lot of times fish can be polluted. And there are some studies that show that women with increased fish consumption have actually increased risk of breast cancer. So we have to be cautious here about thinking that fish is a health food. So we have to be concerned that if you're going to eat fish, you try to eat clean as fish as possible and smaller amounts, and not overdo this idea that fish is a health food, or think that fish oil is the more the better and be popping 3 or 4 fish oil pills a day, because there's a negative aspect to that as well. We want to achieve nutritional adequacy and not nutrient excess. So the omega-3 fatty acids that are beneficial for the brain are important. We want people to make sure they have sufficient omega-3 fatty acids. We want to make sure a person's diet is not too low in fat. And we want to make sure, especially with men, that as they get older, I'm recommending that either they check their blood or they take a supplement with extra DHA. Because we're finding, or at least I'm finding with my patients and my experience, because I'm one of the only physicians in America who's been following a community of healthy eaters and a community of vegetarians for more than 20 years, checking blood levels and seeing what they can be low in. And my findings are that some of these people, as they get older, might get too low in these essential fats that could accelerate Parkinson's disease or cognitive decline. So we want to make sure people have adequate fatty acids. We want them to eat nuts and seeds, the right kind of nuts and seeds. We want them to take a supplement of DHA if their levels are not ideal. And remember, I mentioned earlier that thinking fish and fish oil are your panacea to solve this issue is not good enough. You still have to eat the flax seeds, the green vegetables, and remember that too much fish oil could have negative effects on your body, not positive effects. Especially more than one study now showing now that with many years of follow-up, 10 or 15 years of follow-up, these ongoing studies showing that people with a higher consumption of fish have a significantly higher rate of developing diabetes. So there's some relationship there. Now, besides the omega-3 fatty acids, food also gives us omega-6 fatty acids, and omega-6 fats are also essential. The alpha-linoleic acid is the baseline fat that we get from the omega-6 fat, and we can convert that into beneficial longer-chain omega-6 fats like GLA. Now, the thing to remember here is, how do I want you to get those omega-6 fats into your body? What do you think? I don't want you to get more of your omega-6 fats from eating animal products. I want you to get more of your omega-6 fats from eating seeds like hemp seeds and chia seeds and sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, right? Pignolia nuts, right? Pignolia nuts are pine nuts, and berries are natural food for the human species. They're a good source of the healthiest type of fats and the healthiest type of omega-6 fatty acids. And you get all you need from nuts and seeds. So we're trying to eat less from oil and more from a whole food. And then the body can make the other fats it needs that have anti-inflammatory effects. Some people, not everybody, but it's not that common, but some people are more prone to allergies and eczema and dry skin, may not take the short-chain fat and make the GLA, or the anti-inflammatory omega-6 as well. So that it's rare, but some people may do better with some supplementation of an omega-6 fatty acid, like evening primrose oil, like borage oil, like black currant seed oil, if you're prone to a disease like seborrheic dermatitis or eczema or psoriasis, or a disease that's especially dry skin, where you don't have enough of those GLA-producing enzymes. All right, so to review, to sum this up, fat is a very critical nutrient to a healthy diet. A low-fat diet could be too low in fat. We want the right amount of fat, not too low and not too high. And we want most of your fat to come from whole natural foods. And when you do that, you facilitate weight loss, you prevent cancer, and you help prevent and reverse heart disease. So your health, it's in your hands. It's in your control. Nutritional science enables you to control your health destiny. And I'm wishing you all great health. Take advantage of this information, and let's have a fantastic, long, and pleasurable life. Thank you.